Hello, everyone. I'm Nora Armani, founding artistic director of the Socially Relevant Film Festival, New York. And this is our 10th annual edition. If you have been following us, you'll see that we have been regularly speaking with the filmmakers that are in this year's official selection. Every Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday, we've been talking to them. Unfortunately, today is the last of the talks with the filmmakers. Tomorrow, we have a Zoom webinar. The information and the link are on the festival website on the schedule page, and you can join in whether you are a woman filmmaker or not. Technically, we have started this tradition of March 8th, International Women's Day, to bring together all the women filmmakers of the film festival in any given year and talk to them and have them introduce their films, speak about their experience as a woman filmmaker, and so on and so forth. Of course, everyone is free to attend and is welcome, in fact, but it will be only the women filmmakers of the selection who will be speaking and expressing themselves about their films and their own experiences. So this is tomorrow, same time, 1:30 p.m., and you can find the link on the website. I'm not sure if it's going to be broadcast live. We haven't figured that out, but if not, then we will record it and put it on the YouTube channel for you to visit later. The festival opens next Thursday. So today's Tuesday, not day after tomorrow, thank God, but a week from the day after tomorrow. And it is on the 16th of March, opening at the Lincoln Center, Walter Reed Cinema, and it will be with red carpet starting at 5:30 p.m., followed by a special honor awards. And during this year's honor award, which is the first of its kind, actually, we are honoring three amazing individuals who have contributed so much to the entertainment industry. They are Gail Ann Hurd, a TV and film producer from Los Angeles and New York, Tanya Lee, Mrs. Spike Lee, and also she's also a producer, and Robert Schenken, a Pulitzer and Emmy-winning and multiple nominee writer and screenwriter and playwright, Robert Schenken. So we are so happy to be awarding them. We feel privileged for this, and all this is going to happen on our opening night. There's also two films that we have on offer for you, as well as a small reception. Anyway, I'm not going to tell you all the program because it's all on the website. You can go there, purchase your tickets, and we have specials. Today is the last day of the early bird tickets and the $100 all access pass that gives you access to a VIP ticket on opening night as well. So please come and celebrate with us. But without further ado, I'm going to invite the filmmakers to join me. And here they are. So we're going to take a quick round. Each one of them will introduce themselves and their film. And then we're going to come back to them and talk in further detail about the film. So maybe we'll start with Jennica.
Sure. Thank you, Nora. Hello, everyone. I'm Jennica Carmona Arandia. I'm the writer-director of The Fellowship, which will be screening on March 20th as part of the BIPOC block #2, Rejoice and Resist. I'm very excited and honored to be a part of this wonderful festival that has been around for so long. My film, The Fellowship, it's a student film. I worked with the seniors at Pace University last year as part of their senior project. I was hired to write an original script for them and direct them in a short piece. And it centers around a group of college students who take a sociology class, and they compete with each other for a fellowship. And over the course of competing for that fellowship, they discover things about each other and about themselves that they never really understood.
Yeah, that was quite interesting. And I felt it went so well because after that block of films, we have a panel, and the panel is going to discuss diversity and representation on screen. And I thought it was so apropos. So that's coming up on the 20th.
Yes.
Yes. Shall we go to Aline next? Oh, I think you're muted. Yeah. Yeah. Now you're.
Yeah, it's okay. It's okay now. So I'm Aline. I'm a French filmmaker and not a young French filmmaker. And I did a lot of film before. And those last year, because of the confinement, and I did short movies. And I'm very glad that you invited my short movies. And it's about violence inside family, violence on children, especially, and adolescents. It's a fiction.
Thank you so much, Aline. I had the pleasure of seeing Aline's films in Paris last summer, and I thought we'd absolutely need to include these films in the festival because a lot of what we advocate is nonviolence. That's one of the important things. And Aline, in a beautiful, poetic way, she shows how if you can be poetic with violence, that's a good example of it. She shows how violence has a terrible effect on children, specifically on children in the family environment. It's about domestic violence, but it's not the parents who are fighting all the time. And it's really, really beautiful. So we are privileged to be able to screen it on the 21st of March at Maison Française, Columbia University. Thank you. And we have David. Sorry, you are muted, David.
Can you? Sorry. Okay. Hi, my name is David Reibman. I produce the video Say Their Names, which is a culmination of 3 outdoor shows that I produced. I attended many Black Lives Matter protests, photographed them, and this video, Say Their Names, tells the story of 17 people who've been killed by the police in the United States, along with context of poems talking about the Black experience of living in the United States.
Yeah.
I'm very happy to be part of the film festival, and it'll be screened on March 20th.
Thank you. It was quite a powerful statement because it doesn't go all over the place, running here and there and showing this and showing that. But I'm not going to tell you the film. You have to come and see it. But it's powerful because it's keeps saying one after the other the names of the people, of the Black Lives Matter, Black people who were killed because of this terrible violence. So yeah, it's really going to be quite an interesting experience on the 20th. And that's happening at Dear Mama, which is in West Harlem on 129th Street off of Broadway. And we're going to screen the films, have that panel on diversity and representation in film, followed by a treat, which is a hip hop band with Division X. So lots of wonderful things in store for you. So my first question to anyone who wants to jump in and be the first one to answer is, how did the idea of this film come to you, and how long did it take you from idea to actually bringing it to fruition on the screen?
Oh, I can, if
yeah,
contrary at useful, it came from my own book. I had just since a few weeks my book. I have one book edited, and I took a chapter of some chapters of my book, and anyway, I did in a very quick time. when I decided to do a film 1 month after we were shooting, even less than 1 month.
Wow.
Because it was very easy to write it, because I was writing on this topic since long time, and it was not difficult for me to write the dialogue. And I have my son, friends, many friends who helped me to do the film. And voila. And when I just want to tell you, when you were talking about poetic side of the film, the title that you like, do you know it's phrases in a poem of Paul Verlaine,
Ah, oui.
Au vent mauvais.
Very
It's a poem
interesting.
of
Yeah.
Paul Verlaine.
So
Voilà.
maybe in a way we did well not to translate it, because who wants to translate Verlaine? You want to keep it as it is.
Yes,
And
makes sense.
yeah, the book you're talking about was published in Paris, right?
Just 2 weeks ago.
Before you started the film.
No, just 2 weeks ago now.
Oh,
The
really?
books
It
were printed.
just
Yeah,
came out now.
yeah,
Wow,
it's just
that's amazing.
new,
This is so congratulations.
a
This
big
is
book. Like a stone in the, on dit, en français, on dit un pavé dans la mare. A stone in the water. It's about
wow.
violence. It's about domestic violence. But it's enough poetic too. But it's one of my favorite topics.
Yeah, it's important because these are topics that nobody wants to talk about. And it's kind of like a taboo or a secret. No one, even when you're experiencing in a family, no one wants to really come out and talk. It's very, very rare. And by talking about it, other people who are going through the same thing realize that they're not alone. And that's the entire idea also of this festival, is to show that all these topics that we are dealing with, that they are not alone. People, there is a unity that ties everything in together. So it's amazing. I didn't know that the book was not published. So when I saw the film in Paris, it was still as a manuscript, not
Yes, because the editor didn't know. The editor was here when at the
yeah,
screening, but it
yeah.
was, well, it's always a hard job, to edit a book.
Yes.
And I don't know if you remember, I did a long feature on sexual abuse
Oh,
a
yeah.
long time ago, and the DP was Darius Konji,
Wow, very
my
interesting.
friend. I love him so much.
Yeah.
I worked with him several years, and the Shade of Doubt in English, en français, c'est L'ombre du doute. Et the screening out was in '93.
Very
And
interesting.
yeah, at this period, I had a sort of red carpet to work to the USA with agency CAA, and I did not understood that it was the things were going to turn so bad in France. Really, I was blacklisted because I made a film to denounce the sexual abuse. The French people, the French media was not at all ready for that.
Yeah.
It was too early.
Very interesting, because after that, many years after that, the Me Too movement came out and everybody came out and spoke about it. But I know that situation in France is completely different, and there is still not very much talk about that. So you were ahead of your time. It was really, really interesting.
Yes, and I did about violence conjugal, how you say, between
Domestic violence, yeah, between partners.
between partners. It was in '93.
Yeah.
And it was
That's
not
also
easy to.
very, very early. Yeah.
Yes.
During those times, like, these topics, everybody talks about them now, and it's not a problem. But to talk about them back then, it was very, very courageous on your end.
Yeah. And I think you are right. The violence on children and adolescents, I think, is the things that we talk the less in France, and not enough. It's too taboo because, I'm very feminist, but we need to admit that there are mothers who are very who bad treated their own children.
Mm.
It's a little bit taboo to say that, but
Yeah.
it exists.
Yeah, it's true, very true. And also violence breeds violence. Like it becomes a vicious cycle. And then because you've experienced it, then it comes out on the children. And then the children is like somewhere the chain needs to be broken. So that's also important.
Yeah.
Okay, who wants to jump in, Jennica or David?
Okay, I'll jump in. Well, first, Alina, it was lovely to hear about your film. I look forward to being able to see your work. It's very inspiring. On my end, I was approached by a filmmaker colleague of mine to work with these graduating students at Pace. The objective was that before they graduate, they would have had the experience of being on a professional film set, and also that they would have some kind of reel of footage that they could show as they're entering the professional acting world. So I said, sure, that would be fun. I would love to do that. And I looked at the list of actors that I had to choose from, and I was somewhat surprised to find that, there wasn't a single actor of color there, and that there was only one woman. So it was sort of, a challenge for me as a woman of color myself to sort of write about something, that was, personal to me, that I felt I had a place, to write about. So I sort of was brainstorming with my husband, different ideas. And he came up with the idea, well, what if you put it in a class, where we're talking about the fact that, they're all, that there's no people of color, that there's very few women. And so this idea was born of putting them together in this sociology class at the university. And, I think that with everything going on in the world, there's this new awareness or wokeness, that's the term of the moment, where people are really coming to terms with privilege and generational wealth and racism and class in a new way, in a heightened way. And the thing is that a lot of that can be somewhat performative, in the sense that people can say that they're aware and that they support causes, but in actuality, until it actually affects you, you don't truly understand what it means to be marginalized. So I created this fictional scenario in which these college students who are friends at the beginning of the film are put into this situation where they're competing with each other. And all of a sudden, they're forced to deal with these issues on a very personal level. And they realize that these issues, it's more than about putting Facebook posts out or, attending a protest, that real change is going to come from within. And it takes a lot more than that. It takes a lot of self-sacrifice. It takes a lot of effort if we really want to see the change, in the world that we want to see and in society that we want to see. So the result, I think, was a really great short film. The actors did a wonderful job. They were not afraid of addressing these issues at all. I approached it very delicately at first because I'm always so concerned about offending anyone or just making anyone feel excluded, because these are sensitive topics. The goal is not to alienate anyone. The goal is to have everybody sort of on the same page about where we are and where we want to go. And I was just really blown away by not only the actors' talent, but also their willingness to really go deep into these issues and not to shy away from getting into these uncomfortable moments. So I was really happy with the final product, and I'm happy to share it with you.
Yeah, it was quite interesting. And there were parallels between your film and the opening night film, Tanash, which is a Lebanese film.
Okay.
And in that, it's kind of like a parallel with the 12 Angry Men or 12 jury members that are there to judge a crime that happens with a Syrian national in Lebanon. And the funny thing, not funny, but the strange part of it is that the 12 jury members represent each one a different faction of Lebanese society.
Oh, okay.
Very
Interesting.
similar to yours, in
Yeah.
one room, and they are judging something.
Mhm.
And in your case, it's students in a classroom, each one representing a different kind of group,
Yeah. Yeah.
demographic,
Mhm.
and they have to compete for a fellowship,
Yes.
which can be determinant to their future, and also their who they are may determine whether they're going to get that fellowship or not.
Exactly.
So
Yes.
it's very, very interesting topic.
Thank
So
you.
we come to David. Tell us about how it came about. You kind of touched upon it, but maybe you'll go more in depth.
Well, first of all, I'd just like to say that I'm really looking forward to see the other short films that will be in the festival. I was very privileged just before the Black Lives Matter protest started. I was able to take early retirement, so I was able to spend years full time on this project, which really the video is, as I said before, the culmination of 3 outdoor shows that I produced. In the process, they were vandalized. I was sucker punched, but in any event, I felt the importance of producing this video and telling the stories of a few people who are just afraid of the police, and to give context, which I am not able to do because I don't experience racism. So I approached poets who do understand that experience and use those poems in the video. So that's basically, how the video came about. It was a production of the 3 outdoor shows, which were, other than people who were violently against it, many people supported it. So that's, and I believe the video was produced, I finished basically almost a year ago. But again, the issue is still as relevant today, and people know about Tyree Nichols, but other people have been killed since the protests died down, and so I'm continuing to work on promoting this video, and think it's very important.
Yeah, so do we. That's why we decided that it should be in the festival. And again, it's screening on the 20th at Dear Mama, and it will be followed by the diversity and representation on screen panel, which also touches upon your film, or your film touches upon that topic. So the next thing we want to know from all of you is, what are the new projects we are working on? It could be a film, it could be another book for Aline, or another book that will turn into a film, or who knows what it can be. So who wants to share some ideas of what they are working on right now?
I'm working on I wrote already, and I'm continue to write I have a contract with a producer here on a series. And the topic could seem banal, I don't know, because it's about the life. I'm going to precise the real life, but it's a fiction about Coco Chanel. But
wow.
Because I wrote long time ago a long feature about Coco Chanel. I was the first one, but unfortunately my producer died during the time we were beginning to prepare the film, and it's Vanessa Paradis who normally had to assume the part of Coco Chanel, but finally nothing was done, and years are passing, and now I work again on it with this producer, and we will see.
Yeah, well, we wish you luck. It sounds like a fascinating topic.
Yeah, because she's a fascinating woman,
Yeah.
really.
Yeah. And also, it's not just, she has made so many innovations in the fashion world, and also making women not as an object that you put together and make it beautiful and so on, but also the functionality. Like, a woman is a person, first of all, and let's create fashion that puts out the person first, not a beautiful doll that, you know, has all these things around her. So and she also lived her life in that way. So it must be a fascinating topic to deal with. Plus, it attracts not only the women and the feminist point of view, which can be
Yeah.
subject to that, but also all the fashion lovers, because it
Yes,
can.
yes. And somebody told, said from about her, she was, how to say in English, the exterminator angel of the 19th century.
Oh, wow. How interesting. Yeah.
Yes, really.
Yeah.
Because she has
Fashion
nothing
too.
to lose, you know. She has no money, no parents. She was abandoned. She was poor. She had nothing. So she had nothing to lose. And she said that her birth is she began with the beginning of the century, of the 20th century, and she has nothing to lose and everything to imagine, to invent. And it's why she was so friend. She had a so friendly relation with the Russian artist who came in Europe, escaping from the revolution of Lenin, and they were like a little bit like her. They lose everything, and they were very creative, very modern, and she worked a lot with them.
Wow, this is fascinating, because not only the character, her character is fascinating, but also the period is
Yeah,
fascinating. And
yeah,
then when you have all the Russians coming, it's very similar to what's happening today. All the Ukrainians and the Russians that are running away from the war. And it's like, it's as though history repeats itself. So by bringing out her character and revisiting it, it's really something very actual and today. I can't wait to see
yeah.
this film.
Me too. It's
Well,
going to be
we
a
have,
long, hard job.
yes, of course. Well, maybe we can, when I'm in Paris, we can meet and talk about this. I would love to learn more about it.
Oh, with
Hopefully.
pleasure. But you know, I was very happy to do this short, because I did two those short movies, because for the first time of my life, I was really free. No producer. It's not that I don't like producer, but you know, the producer, very often they read themselves the script, and after they ask to their wife, to their assistant, to the assistant of the assistant, and you have too many people who give their advice, especially for the very particular short movie I did. Uh, it's it's boring, at least it's tiring, because finally you want, you know, you you want to go here, and finally, as everybody has to have the same opinion, well, it's not a good, but it was possible, because it was a very cheap budget for few days. I shoot it in 2 days, 2 days and a half perhaps, but because I'm used, I know to shoot, so I know to work very quick. But of course, when you have a film much more expensive, when you want if it's for a TV screening, or for the cable, for the Netflix, or you are obliged to work, of course, with many advice, with producer, with other scriptwriter. It's not the same job.
Yeah, yeah.
But it was very nice to feel very like
To
this.
have the freedom to express yourself as you wish. We have Olivier Morel, who just joined us, and he is with us here. I'm glad you could make it because I know you teach on Thursdays.
That's correct.
Voilà.
Voila, you know everything. That's right.
Yes, I know everything about you. So I'm going to put the title of your film. In the meantime, you can tell us a little bit about it. Introduce yourself and tell us about the film.
Now?
Yes.
Is it okay? Okay. So yes, obviously, my name is Olivier Morel. I was just first of all, I'm very sorry that I had to join a bit late because I was teaching a class, and as I was joining the session here, I heard you, Nora, talk about Ukraine, and I was more specifically, and that's why I was more delayed than I thought I would. I hoped that I would have been able to join shortly after 1:45, but in this class, more specifically, we had someone live on Zoom who's a Ukrainian cinephile and professor in film, and we were talking about Larissa Shepitko, Larissa Shepitko's film, especially The Ascent, which is a marvelous Ukrainian film. I mean, Ukrainian, I insist, because she was born in Bakhmut, right? A Ukrainian film made by a woman filmmaker. And this was very important for me. So I could not leave the, the Zoom call with my colleague from Ukraine, who, by the way, is also enrolled in the Ukrainian army now. So it was quite special. So I don't like to talk about myself, obviously. So, but I will, in spite of that, I will introduce the film. This is the film. The film's title is Rêve, which appears here on the screen, which is the international title that we chose. I say we, that is Hélène Sixou and me. When I was in the editing room at some point. To summarize, it's not easy to summarize because it really is a film that we made, I want to say, together. That is, it is Hélène Sixou, writer, playwright, feminist. I also want to say, also in a very poetic way, she's an amazing thinker. If you don't know her, but I mean, in a few years, in 2 years, actually, in 2025, it will be the 50th anniversary of the Medusa, La Méduse, right? That is the feminist manifesto she wrote in 1975, about which she very often says, this is my curse, right? I mean, that is the idea that she's renowned, she's very famous even for this manifesto that she wrote in 1975. But at the same time, I've had a very long friendship, of course, with Hélène Sixou that dates back from the 90s. And again, it's not about me, it's about her, because I wrote articles about her books published in a magazine, literary, kind of like literary magazine, right? Named La Quinzaine Littéraire. And it is the articles that I wrote about her that triggered an exchange of letters between Hélène and myself. And at the time, Hélène did not know, or Sixou did not know, Hélène Sixou did not know that I was also attending her seminar at Vincennes, or at Paris 8, the University of Paris 8, that she founded with a few colleagues back in the aftermath of the May 68 movement. So she's a writer, a playwright, a poet, a thinker, and also someone who founded a university, and she's an amazing activist. But really, I mean, to be honest with you, when I received the first letters from Hélène, I was in my 20s, and I was extremely astonished. And since then, we've not stopped exchanging words, letters, talking. And at some point over 10 years ago, she told me, if I ever accept the idea of making a film, period. That was not making a film about myself, right? It was it was just a joke, right? She was joking like that. She told me, I want to make this film with you. And of course, I said no, because I think it's impossible. First of all, it is impossible. It is difficult to film your own friends and your own family. It's the most difficult thing to do, I believe, when it comes to filmmaking. And the second reason is that I thought that, well, wait a minute, it is impossible. But after a few years, she convinced me. And I was convinced by a colleague from my film department here at the university where I teach that I was probably the one person who should accept this thing. And so instead of making a film about Hélène Cixous, I started to make a film with her. That is the idea of spending a lot of time with her, as I always do when I go to France, to Paris, and do it with a camera. And so I had a sabbatical leave a few years ago, and that's during this whole sabbatical period of over 7-8 months that I started filming Hélène Cixous, and that's how we made the film. But I don't want to say more than that, because it really is a film. Like, it's not observation. It's not like I'm not directing her, right? It is really like following Hélène's drives. Really, it really she's the driver, right? She's the vehicle, she's the driver, she's the maker of the film. I was trying to erase myself as much as I could so that she would be in charge. That in a way, obviously I'm the one holding the camera most of the time, but she was directing me as much as I was, filming or directing. I don't like the word.
It's very interesting because it ends up becoming a document not only on her, but on a period of history, on a time where she lived, and how she is the link between Algeria, the Algerian thoughts and philosophers and writers, and France, and being an exile, but not really, and writing in the language of the country and so on. It was like really amazing, and how this whole thing comes together in the film. So it's a big love process, actually, because you can't do it without the dedication and the passion. Yeah.
I'm very honored and pleased that you read the film in the most ideal way. That is, Nora, you understand the film very well, but I mean, it's not given, right? In a way, you're telling me that our dream of the film works, at least for you, right? And it's not evident because
one member of the audience,
right? As you say, I mean, it's like, I was filming her very intuitively, but while thinking, I don't want to be the filmmaker, which is why I refused. I said, no, I mean, it's not that I felt that I was unable or whatever, right? It did not feel right that I would film her and not have her being filmed by me, filming her. I mean, her being filmed, it's a very difficult concept. In a way, I wanted to deconstruct the idea of directing.
Absolutely. And there are also characters in life, like whether it's a documentary, or just now we were talking with Aline about Coco Chanel, which is kind of a similar situation in a different context. These women, these characters are so powerful, and they have so much to say that it would be wrong to not let them tell their own story and try to put them into a mold or something that we believe how it should be, and so on and so forth. And by the same token, I'm going to make a parallel and say that is how we approach the film festival too. In the sense that we never beforehand decide what themes we are going to tackle in any particular given edition of the film festival. I'm often asked, so what's the theme this year? And I go, I don't know. We're going to look at the submissions and decide after we hear out the filmmakers and see what they want to talk about. So when we start looking at the submissions, we always go, first of all, by selecting the best films out of the bunch. And then the ones that didn't quite make it because the idea was good, but it didn't quite translate to the screen, or maybe the production values were very poor, or acting was horrible, or something like that, then they are eliminated. Then we have the yes films, the ones that really jump at you from the screen. And then we have the maybe films that, yeah, it could fit somewhere, but it's not like grabbing me by the throat, you know? So then the yeses, we focus on those, and we try to see what stories they are trying to tell us. And we realize that every year there are certain topics that are much more urgent, much more important. And there are so many filmmakers, they don't know each other. They haven't talked to each other, but somehow, coincidentally, they are all talking about that topic. Like this year, for example, we have an amazing number of films on adoption, family and adoption. And we have a lot of films about Black, Indigenous, people of color. So we have a whole section called Rejoice, Resist, BIPOC films. And we were even hesitant. I wanted to, it actually, geographically speaking, the Maison Française Colombia screenings fall under the Rejoice, Resist topic. And then I was told by the French Maison Française, yeah, but these are Hélène Sixou is not BIPOC. And I said, yes, she is. When you are born in Algeria and you are French and you are dealing with all these contradictory topics and writing about them all your life, what are you if not BIPOC? And BIPOC is a much wider example. It's not only Indigenous and color and Black, and it's people that are not in the mainstream is basically how I define BIPOC.
I agree.
Yeah, so in a way, it kind of all ties in together. So I'm very excited. I'm talking about our selection. I'm very excited with it. So my next question in the remaining time is, whoever wants to jump at it, is what are your next projects? What it is that you are working on? A new film, a new book, a new documentary, whatever it is, if you want to share it with us.
So the question is directed to the group. Okay, yes.
Yeah, whoever. If you
good. Very good.
First one to respond, you can say.
So I had two project ideas that I wanted to do. One of the initial idea I had was to do a project about trans people who are killed. And I found it very hard. I found part of that community, but I know I know some people, the community is very vulnerable. But I found it very hard. There are no protests about it. And in terms of using poetry, because people are vulnerable, a lot of the poems are poets are anonymous. So I sort of gave it up, but I'm getting interested again in doing that. I'm just especially because of the situation in the United States, even increasing violence and oppression against trans people. The other one I wanted to do was about anti-Semitism, because that's something I could talk to directly, and I experienced even recently. And that project is that project.
I'm sorry, what was it that you said?
A video about anti-Semitism.
Yes.
Because in our country, United States, the foundation of the country, I would say, is racism, but the anti-Semitism is also a very integral part of the country, the society.
Yeah. Speaking of the trans situation, a few years ago, we screened a a documentary, which was quite interesting, and it was called Stonewall with a T. Meaning, of course, everybody knows the Stonewall riots and all that, and the manifestations and so on. But nobody paid attention to the trans element in that. So this film focused exactly on that. And that's why it said Stonewall with a T, the T being for the transgender section. So for the past 10 years, I mean, I don't think there is still a topic under the sun that we haven't kind of touched upon. And I am so happy about this because it has been an amazing learning experience for me and for all of us, the entire team that has been looking at these films and selecting from them. Every year there is a new topic and I go, oh my God, I didn't know something like this existed. Look, and it's really an amazing experience. I should dedicate the time and sit down and write about it, but I don't have the discipline of writers. So I really admire you, Aline, to have written a book. Wow. And you, Olivier, for all these years. And it's like book writing is something, chapeau.
I would say the same thing about acting, Nora. Something that
I guess.
I don't know how.
It's a lazy way to live.
No, it's not, because you have to wake up and sit down. And one time I was joking about this and I felt I need to put some glue on my butt so that I sit on the chair and I can't get up. So then I am obliged because I am like all over the place. But anyway, so who wants to share future projects?
I'll just chime in really quickly that, for me, I have a lot of projects sort of in the line, but really my immediate focus is to expand on the fellowship. Right now, it's a short film and it was a student film, so obviously time and resources were very limited, but it really explores a lot of themes that are very timely. And you see these themes coming up in recent films like Tar, Triangle of Sadness, The Menu. Like, it's really obvious that we're living in a time where these issues are really important to people. They want to start talking about them and exploring them. And in a lot of ways, it holds a mirror up to our society and sometimes makes us laugh at ourselves and sometimes gives us a reality check about, where we are and how we've been and what things we need to do to go forward. So on my end, I'm just really looking forward to screening the film and, sort of getting a gauge on the reception of it and sort of, using that as a motivation to develop the project even further on a larger scale.
Yeah, I can see how it can become a feature because, then you can branch off with the lives of each of these students and we can see something that's happening, the way they are in the classroom and the way they are in reality at home. They might not be necessarily in sync. And, there are so many aspects that can be explored. And who else? Olivier, Aline?
I told already.
Yes, you did. Yes, we know yours. Yeah.
I have others many things, but
yeah, but the most important right now is the Coco Chanel.
And
and the immediate one. I know we are all like we have so many things in the back burner, front burner, and so on in the fire, but there are some projects that are much more like immediate. Yeah. And Olivier?
Oh yeah, as far as I'm concerned, okay, I will say three things. One is that I have a vague notion of making a film, or the desire, I should say, the inclination, I don't know how to characterize this, to make a film about teenagers today in the American society, what they are going through, about the different classes, the class struggle along those lines, and also the pressure and the overwhelming number of teenagers who are really suffering. This was revealed, not revealed, it's always been there, but the pandemic has triggered a broader discussion about the subject, and now the discussion tends to fade away, but still the issues are there. And I've been thinking a lot about this thing over the past few years, I should say. That's one thing. But again, it's a vague notion I have fantasies of how to do it, etc., in order not to repeat, because, I mean, obviously this has been broadly covered, but there are things that need to be addressed with regard to the trends, right, to the evolution of society in this area. The other thing is that I have been working a lot over the past few weeks on making something that I've had in the back of my mind for a few years, but that becomes more and more concrete as I research. But again, it also is a vague notion. It's how Angela Davis became, an iconic character on the other side of the Berlin Wall. That is, yes, during the Cold War, right? That she became a symbol, especially in East Germany. And I've spent a lot of time researching and working in Berlin. For example, I wrote my PhD about Berlin. And this is something that really tickles my brain. That is, Angela Davis and Germany and East Germany, and this love affair that she had with East Germany. That's the second thing. And the third thing is way more concrete. It's that I'm in the process of, I will correct the proofs in a few weeks of a big manuscript I wrote about Hélène Cixous. So yeah, I wrote a book about Hélène Cixous. It's going to be published by Bloomsbury, that is this New Yorker, publishing house, towards the end of this year. So this consumes a lot of time, of course.
Of course. That is fascinating. I have had the honor and pleasure of meeting Hélène Cixous during the years that I was very closely associated with the Théâtre du Soleil, of course. Because, as you know, she co-wrote many of the plays that they did. Yeah. And amazing personality, just the way she walks into the theater and so on. And so such self-confidence. And I go, oh, I want to be like that when I grow up.
Yes.
Yeah. This is amazing. Really fantastic topics, everyone. And I'm so happy. Jennica, you will be in New York, and David is already in New York. Aline, we won't have you, unfortunately. I'll see you in Paris when I get there. And Olivier, you're coming. So are you coming on Tuesday or?
We'll arrive on Tuesday evening and be here on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Yes.
Yeah. Well, join us on Tuesday. We are having the get together at 9 p.m. If you're not, if you don't arrive in time for the screening.
Yeah, I'll try. I should arrive in Manhattan probably around 9:30-ish. So I will try to.
Okay. Well, we'll still be there. We'll be there because it starts at 9 at the Arts and Crafts. And it would be wonderful to have you there with us. We haven't foreseen anything after your film since it's so long. And also there is a Q&A afterwards with, So it's going to be a fun-filled evening. And maybe this is a good opportunity for me to do my little 2 cents worth of advertising the film festival. Today is the last day of the $7 early bird tickets. We had it extended by 1 week. And we also have $100 early bird all access passes, which is an amazing deal because it not only gets you to the opening night VIP, which already is $50 in itself, like the red carpet reception, honor awards, the 2 films, all this is a package for $50. So if you're purchasing the $100 all access pass, then you're getting already half of it, and then the rest you can use to come and see all the other events. So, and if you don't, then just $7, the price of a latte or a nice coffee in New York, you can come and see a wonderful film and talk to the filmmakers. So we do this as a passion. I was sick and tired of seeing violence portrayed on specifically film posters, because the movies, it's a choice. It's a matter of taste. You don't want to go see violent movies, don't go. But if you're waiting for your bus, and then this poster comes across you with a gun on it, and somebody being attacked or whatever, and I felt, we need to offer an alternative form of entertainment. And it's not like I want to censor anything, because when you're talking about violent situations like in Aline's film, or other situations when wars happen, we have a war film as well, you're not going to not show the guns and violence. You have to. But I'm talking about gratuitousness of it. When, especially Hollywood films, a lot of films dwell upon that. So we want to focus on the human interest story behind all this. So I thank you all very much for being with me. I almost don't want to say goodbye, but normally when we are more people, we stretch it until the full hour, but since we covered it. But I will also give you an opportunity if anyone wants to jump in and say something, last minute words or whatever, before we close. So feel free to come on and say whatever you feel like it.
Well, I just want to say I'm honored to be part of the film festival and part of the BIPOC #2 program, which for only $7 you can see some great short videos and also see a concert as well, a music performance concert as well, right? And so that is a great opportunity that I'm really glad to be part of.
Yeah, thank you. And we have one audience member who has put a note here. Sometimes the audience is listening and they are not necessarily putting questions, but Joel Arandia says thank you. So I just wanted to read that out loud. And any other person who wants to...
I would like to say thank you to Nora and to your team, Sandra. And I mean, I know and I don't know what it takes. I mean, I can tell that it is humongous what you're doing in terms of investment, tasks. It must be nerve-wracking. It is everything, but it's beautiful and it is really worth it. And I could not, emphasize enough on how important this work that you do is. At so many levels.
Thank you. We believe in it, and I'm lucky to have a team that works with me, because it's not one person show. You can't. First of all, starting from viewing the films, over 500 films that we get, I'm not going to sit and watch 500 films. I'd go crazy, let alone the time it takes to do that. We have a team, as I was saying before, who chooses the yeses, the nos, and the maybes in the first place. And then if we have doubts, then we have to ask them, why is it yes or why is it no, whatever. But technically, we have very clear criteria based on which it is decided. And later we focus on the ones that are the best and stand out, and we decide the themes and we learn from them. So it's really amazing. Thank you. Thank you so much. And it's, as I was saying earlier, it's a huge, huge work. It's not child's play at all. And I spend a lot of sleepless nights and wake up very early, sleep very early and wake up very early. But the reward is immense, is amazing. The reward of knowing that we are being able to offer a platform to films that might otherwise not get seen, because in the commercial circuits, they would be considered not commercial enough, not important enough, and so on. But for us, that's what matters, because they are about people, about lives, about real situations. Thank you all very much. And again, we made it 2:30 exactly on the dot. So I'm going to close end the broadcast, but we can stay and chat some more in the studio if you like.